Spying on his lovers was El Chapo's obsession. The Mexican drug lord would provide them with what he dubbed his special phones, devices that had been infected with the commercial spyware FlexiSpy with the assistance of his IT specialist. Once that program was loaded, the phone was used as surveillance equipment by Joaquin Guzman Lorea, a drug trafficker. Welcome back to The Infiltrator. Let's get into it. To start with, in a federal courtroom in Brooklyn, jurors have been hearing testimony against Guzman for weeks. Guzman is accused of leading the potent Sinaloa cartel, which is accused of running a multi-billion-dollar global drug empire. Guzman is accused of running an organization that transported drugs and weapons between the United States and Mexico, as well as throughout South America. He is also accused of money laundering, drug trafficking, kidnapping, and murder. Multiple calls from Guzman have been played in court by federal prosecutors. In these calls, he requests updates, orders, and moves shipments, haggles over the cost of kilos, and praises or chastises his operatives as they carry out his instructions. More than 200 calls from Guzman himself, as well as hundreds more from his agents, lieutenants, and family members were all intercepted by the FBI. But the FBI didn't explain how until last week. They had an inside man. Last Thursday, FBI agent Stephen Marston testified in court about several high-risk operations organized with Christian Rodriguez, an IT specialist from Sinaloa who later became a government informant and has since moved to the United States under FBI protection. So, the first thing Rodriguez did after being hired as an informant was to get around the security network he had set up in Guzman's mountain stronghold. Rodriguez fabricated an outage and briefly shut down the network in May 2010. Rodriguez's then boss, George Cifuentes, believed the servers were down because Rodriguez had neglected to renew the contract. The FBI was able to listen in on Guzman allegedly arranging a 6-ton cocaine deal with members of the FARC guerrilla organization because the outage was staged to require Guzman and his operatives to use tempered phones. Well, the FBI and Marston wanted complete access to Guzman's network, even though the disruption was just momentary. Agents then gave Rodriguez the order to shift the servers to its network in the Netherlands from Canada, where encryption regulations had thwarted the FBI search warrants. The FBI had the Dutch high-tech crime team collaborated for 18 months, according to the Dutch publication NL Times, to infiltrate the network and obtain access to hundreds of calls that served as the foundation of the prosecutor's case. We can say that Guzman's own love of monitoring finally led to federal officials to get him. According to Rodriguez's testimony in court, he personally set up 50 BlackBerry phones with monitoring software called FlexiSpy at Guzman's request. This undetectable program can read text messages and call logs, steal passwords saved to the device, remotely turn on and listen to the microphone, and read saved passwords. Starting at $68 a month, it positions itself as a method of employee and parental control. Technology experts and advocacy groups who support victims of domestic violence have harshly condemned this program, claiming that it encourages stalking and gives abusers more ability to control their victims. The prosecution called Guzman's former IT expert to testify recently, and he described how he set up an encrypted phone system for El Chapo, gave him commercial spyware to spy on lovers and lieutenants, and then used the entire system against him. As a result, the trial was recently taking a turn toward a techno-killer. The Chapo trial has evolved into a tale of our times for a long-time observers of technology and espionage. The main takeaway is that technology makes it simpler and less expensive to get this information. Obtaining this information is simply way too simple, according to Stuart Baker, a former general counsel for the National Security Agency. People are going to have easier access to private information, he said. Guzman allegedly took great pleasure in installing malware on the phones of his subordinates. According to the testimony given in court, he would call his lieutenants, hang up, and then turn on the microphones of an infected gadget to hear what they had to say while their boss wasn't around. Christian Rodriguez, Guzman's IT specialist, claims to have given his employer 10 FlexiSpy infected devices at first, followed by another 40, giving him a strong tool to keep an eye on his lovers and employees. His wife, Emma Coronel Aspuro, and at least 2 girlfriends' phone had the spyware installed. The FBI approached Rodriguez in 2010 and got him to turn, which gave them access to El Chapo's communication systems. Rodriguez gave federal authorities access to Chapo's FlexiSpy accounts and placed monitoring software on the encrypted phone systems. Prosecutors have shown several unpleasant and highly damning discussions during the testimony this week. Information about drug transactions and chats about shootouts are included in the evidence that was produced in court. prosecutors read aloud from El Chapo's text message with his lovers while El Chapo's wife was present. El Chapo allegedly had liposuction performed on one of his lovers, for whom he said, "You are the most important person to me, I adore you," in a letter to a woman. According to a 2017 investigation by Vice, the Thai company that sells FlexiSpy has seen widespread abuse from envious partners to use it to stalk on their partners. However, Guzman's special phones are only one aspect of the tech drama playing out in Brooklyn. The Israeli spyware company, NSO Group, has gotten in on the action as Guzman's trial is making news across the world by telling the Israeli journalist Ronen Bergman that the Mexican government used its Pegasus software to find Guzman. In Mexico, where it had been used against journalists covering the drug trade and cartel violence, amongst other things, that software is most known for its involvement in listening in on communications of human rights advocates around the world. About 45 nations have reported finding Pegasus, and its most recent development against Saudi activists who oppose Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has drawn attention. However, the Israeli company is now capitalizing on a sporadic instance of positive PR to change the topic of conversation surrounding its flagship product to its value in combating crime. Human rights advocates contend that the corporation has the safeguards to ensure that its technology is not also used against members of civil society, even though the company claims that it is a key instrument in the fight against crime. Since at least 2017, NSO has highlighted the use of its technology in the capture of El Chapo in its marketing materials. However, in what appears to be a well-planned PR move, the company is now making its executives available for interview with a prominent Israeli journalist. The statements made by NSO should only be taken with a grain of salt because no evidence has yet been presented in the trial to support their account. However, Baker, the former NSA counsel, said that if they, quote, truly were important in getting El Chapo, you shouldn't deny them a victory lap, end quote.